What's up, YouTube? It is Tuesday morning, January 23rd, 2024, and we have a new Arena Cube dropping in just a few hours. So last time the Arena Cube came around, we did a little changelog video. Folks enjoyed that, had some requests to do it again. Look, I'm happy to talk about the Arena Cube. I love it very much. Thrilled to see it coming back with some changes. And we're going to start off with the bangerest of bangers. You know, you scroll down this cube colorless, which I'll try to remember to put a link in the YouTube description for this link for folks who want to check it out themselves. The left-hand column is the cards that are staying in the cube. The middle column is the cards that are leaving, and the right-hand column are the cards that are coming in. You scroll all the way down to the bottom of the lands, and you see that we have the allied color fetch lands coming into the cube. This is huge. This is by far the biggest update to the cube. Fetch lands, if you've never played Vintage Cube or Legacy Cube or Modern Cube, any kinds of cubes that have access to fetch lands are incredibly high picks because they turn all of your dual lands with types into fetchable cards. You know, you have a Hallowed Fountain, right? A white-blue shock land, and you have Polluted Delta, and you're a black-white deck. Well, boom. Polluted Delta becomes a black-white dual for you because it can fetch up Hallowed Fountain. So fetch lands, the 5 fetch lands here are going to be incredibly high picks and really going to expand the ability of decks. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but like, look, it's half the amount of fetch lands that we're used to. It's really going to expand the ability of decks to just draft the best cards. You know, the best single-pipped cards, if a Seeker's Chariot is still up there, that sort of thing. A lot of decks can just snag that and put it in there and anticipate having fixing that's really not going to impact your mana base, which you couldn't quite do prior to the shock lands. You know, prior to these shock lands, I think the best lands to take in the cube were Fabled Passage, a fetch land, and where is it? Forsaken Crossroads. This is one that lets you choose a type when it comes into play, and then if you're the starting player or not, you get to scry 1/ it can come into play untapped. We also have Captivating Crossroads, a new alchemy land, coming in as well as another 5-color fixer in a way. So I anticipate all 6 of these lands to be quite impactful. Crawling Barrens leaving, meh, and Field of Ruin leaving, meh. Not a huge fan. So we'll switch over and we'll do top down from this cube Cobra list, checking out white first. So in the creature department, Charming Prince and Clarion Spirit leaving. Actually, I'm a huge fan of most of these changes. I don't love losing either of these, to be honest. I mean, obviously, I love a Yorion deck, but there is a bit of an ETB Blink life happening. I think Charming Prince is quite good in a lot of white decks. And Clarion Spirit I found to be, again, quite strong in a lot of aggressive decks. So I'm sort of surprised to see these leaving, especially with no cheap replacement creatures coming in for them. So we may see white slowing down a bit. Who knows? Heliod Suncrowned. This is probably good for my win rate because I always tried to combo off with this, but never really could quite get it to work. Coming in as Sanguine Evangelist seems like a no-brainer from LCI, and Werefox Bodyguard as well from WoW. Another no-brainer. Exile Flash creature. An alchemy card that I haven't played with. This is Cerise or Cerise. There we go. Cerise. Oh yeah. Sorry if things were getting cut off. I'll try and peep that on the other screen. So here we have there it is. Cerise, Slayer of Fear. It's a 5-mana 5/5 first strike lifelink at the beginning of your post-combat main phase if you gained life this turn, which you could from Cerise. Seek a card with the highest mana value among cards in your library with mana value less than or equal to the amount of life you gained this turn. And seek is draw. So we're clear that goes into your hand. Okay, that's very powerful, but also 5 mana and Wingmate Rock coming in. We're going to see a lot of Khans of Tarkir cards coming in that are powerful, and Wingmate Rock is definitely one of them. An incredible curve topper for aggressive white decks, and just a really good curve topper for any white deck if you can get that raid trigger. In the instant department, we're losing Blessed Alliance and Valorous Stance. Again, I'm really not too bummed about that. I'm kind of surprised to not see Get Lost, considering we have Fateful Absence, but, you know, I don't think Get Lost is that good in Limited, to be honest. I don't think Fateful Absence is that good in Limited. Like, I don't think we're quite at the point, you know, in Vintage Cube, you can kind of get away with something like this, like a Get Lost, because the threats are so enormous. You know, if you have to take out I don't even know what this would kill that doesn't have an ETB effect, but whatever. Where you don't mind giving them a clue. I'm not sure Arena Cube is quite at that power level yet. And we're getting a banger of a sweeper in Sunfall. Moving on to the last of the white cards, Birth of Meletus. Again, probably a good card for my win rate. Always like this kind of a card, but it's actually not quite good. Rabble Rousing definitely felt too slow. Virtue of Loyalty coming in. I imagine this will probably become one of white's best cards in the cube. This, I think, is probably the biggest include addition. And interesting to note that Invasion of Gobakhan is still in the cube here. A lot of the invasions are leaving. Tried them out last time. I think they were largely a dud, but Invasion of Gobakhan keeping its place here in the white aggressive decks. All right, moving on to blue. Blue's losing a lot of its cheap tempo plays here. We're losing Terramander, Siren Storm Tamer, and Spectral Sailor. I think no great losses here in these three creatures. Interesting, again, to note that we're not getting replacements. Sort of losing that... Whatever, you draft a blue-black or a blue-white Luris deck, and these are some good cheap creatures for you, but otherwise I don't think any deck is sad to see these go. Losing Reality Chip as well, which was probably a little too slow. Never quite got there. Surge Engine, I liked this card personally. I think it's powerful, and I think it plays on some nice different axes in terms of letting blue be aggressive and letting blue be defensive, and you know, sort of an army in a can where that army has 3 extra cards. But I get that it's going in. Malcolm coming in makes a ton of sense. Flash, evasive, looting, etc. Losing Haughty Djinn and Skystrike Officer. Now, Officer leaving, I think, makes a lot of sense. This really felt out of place in what blue is trying to do in the cube. Haughty Djinn, I'm sort of surprised to see go. I think this card was good. Gaining Tishana's Tidebinder makes a lot of sense. This card is incredibly strong and versatile. Gaining another clone effect in Surgical Metamorph. It's a 4-mana 0/0, costs 1 less to cast if you weren't the starting player, and then comes in as a copy of any permanent on the battlefield except it's an artifact. And getting Talion's Throne Guard. I never played with this card before. It's a 4-mana 2/1 flash flyer and has Bargain. When it enters the battlefield, you return up to 1 target spell or non-land permanent to its owner's hand, and if you bargain this out, that thing now costs 2 more to cast. I'll be curious to see this in play. I mean, this is obviously a great tempo play, but when all is said and done, you're not left with a card that's incredibly powerful. It's just a 2/1 flyer for 4 mana, so I don't know how great of a card this is. Pour one out for one of the Karuga Secret 2s. Alrund, God of Cosmos. I'm really kind of surprised to see this go. I like this card a lot. I know that a lot of people don't because it goes late in cube a lot of the time. But I'm sad to see it go. We're gaining another Secret 2 in Horned Locked Whale as a 2-mana interactive spell for Karuga decks. And yes, Karuga, the giant hippo, is still here. And we're losing Jin Gitaxias, Progress Tyrant. Fine. Planeswalkers staying the same for blue. Losing an Impulse. Kind of random, honestly. Like, I think most blue decks would rather have Impulse in here than Blink, Make Disappear, Intervention. I don't know. Impulse leaving is a little weird. Confounding Riddle coming in. Like, I get it. We got to try new cards from the new sets, but I don't know how good this will be. We'll see. I guess Supreme Will is in the cube, and this is just better than Supreme Will in every instance, right? They have to pay 4 for the spell. The other cards that you don't pick go into your graveyard, so we'll see. And then Dig Through Time, obvious include. This is going to be very powerful. Let's not beat around the bushes here. Treasure Cruise coming in as well. These are both going to be great. And Sleight of Hand, another cheap blue cantrip. So I guess that's kind of what's replacing Impulse. I don't know. It's weird. And then losing the Modern Age. Again, no great loss here, with a card that never really felt like it got there. Pretty big shakeup in the cheap black creature department. Cryptbreaker gone. This is good for my win rate. This card was not good. Shambling Ghast, pretty low impact. And Blade of the Oni, again, just didn't quite have a home. Black's not really that aggressive. It might be now, though. Knight of the Ebon Legion is a huge upgrade. This is just a fantastic card in basically any black deck, and Stalactite Stalker, I imagine, will play quite nicely. And maybe with the addition of these two, black gets to play an aggressive tempo game a bit better. And Souls of the Lost, we're seeing quite a bit of looting, cards going to the graveyard type deal. I think Souls of the Lost is an interesting include, giving black a Tarmogoyf kind of spell. Losing Rotting Regisaur, whatever. Gaining Lord Skitter. Lord Skitter will be great. Like, Graveyard Hate plus Token Factory. This is going to be very good. Preacher of the Schism. This is also going to be great. these are two huge upgrades for black. Starving Revenant. This will be interesting. I mean, there does seem to be, like I said, and it's thanks to LCI with, and there's looting stuff, that the graveyard seems to be, well, it's LCI/delve, right? And recognizing the tension there is important for your drafting and your deck building. But Starving Revenant is going to be an interesting card if this graveyard stuff gets there. Losing Gray Merchant, I'm fine with that. Don't really care about losing that Devotion Life. Gaining some great removal spells in Bitter Triumph and Murderous Cut. Here is the Delve spell. Soul Transfer leaving. I don't think this is any great loss for the black decks, especially with the upgrade of Murderous Cut and Bitter Triumph. And then a Sweeper and Crux of Fate from Khans. It's going to be very interesting. Or I guess this is maybe from Fate Reforged. I don't know where this is from in terms of arena, but this is a powerful card. And then Bitter Blossom from the Woe Enchanted Tales slot. It'd be interesting to see how Bitter Blossom plays out, because I think it's finally like too slow. It's definitely too slow for Vintage Cube, where you have stuff like Skull Clamp to really abuse this. And the black sacrifice decks took a huge hit. Like Red Black Sack took a huge hit in the last iteration of the cube. Not to say that there aren't still sack outlets hanging out, but it's not as prevalent. So I'll just be interested to see how this plays out. Virtue of Persistence, another card that I imagine will be one of black's best cards. Removal spell plus finisher in one, and then losing 2 pretty medium invasions. At least medium the last time they were around. All right, moving on to red. Losing Fanatical Firebrand and Vindictive Flamestoker. I think losing Flamestoker makes sense. I mean, losing Fanatical Firebrand, whatever. Flamestoker was unique, but I think... I don't know if there was enough support to have a card like this. Losing Rada's Firebrand. Gaining Inti. Inti is huge. Inti's so good. Yeah, not much to say about that. Inti's so good. I imagine this being one of Red's best threats. Losing Phoenix of the Ash. Gaining Godric Cloaked Reveler. Godric is pretty big game. 3 mana, 3/3 haste plus the celebration trigger. Yeah, this is going to be huge. Atsushi out. Captivating Crew. Thank God this was just... even Red Black was good in the cube. This was no good. Gaining Dracosaur. Hello. Just raw power. Gaining Trumpeting Carnosaur. Hello. Raw power and flexibility. Gaining Jaya Fiery Negotiator from DMU. So a 4 ability Planeswalker here. To cast 4 mana value for loyalty counters and 4 abilities. I don't know. This isn't the best aggressive card, but perhaps this goes well in some more controlling decks. We'll see. Losing Spikefield Hazard, whatever. Losing Faithful Suiting. It's interesting with all the graveyard stuff that Faithful Suiting is leaving. I think that's kind of a mistake, personally. Like, when I've got, like, when Treasure Cruise and Dig Through Time are coming into the cube, I don't really want to lose Faithful Suiting, but... so it is. Into the Fire coming in from Mom. Deals 2 to each creature, planeswalker in battle, or you put any number of cards from your hand on the bottom of your library, then draw that many cards plus 1. Losing Kamano. Why? One of the best red aggressive cards. I don't know why we're losing it. Gaining Goblin Bombardment. Huge, ding, 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 huge upgrade for the sacrifice decks. There's something to do with Bitter Blossom. Losing Experimental Frenzy. I think that's fine. I don't actually think cards that incentivize you to go monocolored are that good in Cube, because it just puts your draft on rails so much. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to go in a mono red deck, but definitely has to go in a low curve deck. I don't think losing this is... I think this is a loss in terms of power in some senses, but I don't think it's a loss in terms of the kinds of things you'll be able to do in the Cube. Gaining Virtue of Courage is interesting. So it's a 2 mana shock up front, and then lets you get some card advantage if you deal non-combat damage to an opponent. This could be a build around. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. Like, do we have some pingers? I have to go back and recontextualize some cards. And then losing Invasion of Mercadia. I'm okay with that. Okay. Green. Losing Elvish Reclaimer. It's about time. Gaining Cenote Scout. This is a huge upgrade. Green, I think, gets the biggest gains. It loses a ton of clunky or misplaced cards and gains almost all bangers. And I don't even think Cenote Scout is that big of a banger, but I think it's a pretty good player here. Losing Fauna Shaman, Mayor of Avabruck, Tarmogoyf, and Preserver. The only card that's interesting to me to see go is Tarmogoyf. Like when we're getting Souls of the Lost in, when we're getting this Descend stuff, when we're getting more graveyard things, but maybe I'm overrating the amount of graveyard things coming in, but I think losing Tarmogoyf is a little weird, but the rest of these cards I just don't think largely mattered. And we're gaining I think Bramble Familiar is awesome for green decks as, cheap ramper and, potential finisher, potential engine. If you're trying to like deck yourself, I don't know if maybe Thassa's Oracle is still in this cube. Let's scroll up and check. Is Oracle still here? Nope. Thassa's Oracle not in the cube. Oh well, but still Bramble Familiar, an exciting card. Intrepid Paleontologist, another mana dork. Maybe some dino stuff happens. I mean, it's going to be rare, but it'll be cool when it does. Losing Raminap Excavator and Simian Simulacrum. Fine. Gaining Nissa Resurgent Animist. It's the landfall. Like it's a Lotus Cobra, basically. But then if you double it, hello fetch lands, you can reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal an elf or elemental and put that card into your hand. Pretty cool. Selvala, Heart of the Wilds. It's a powerful card for sure if you've never played with it. It's a 3-mana 2/3. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, its controller may draw a card if its power is greater than each other creature's power, and then it taps to add X mana in any combination of colors, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. And then Sentinel of the Nameless City. I think this card's going to be a banger in cube. I imagine this is going to be one of Green's best picks at this point. Gaining Questing Beast, huge wall of text. Gaining Elder Gargoth, another huge wall of text type of card. Both incredible green threats. Gaining Vivian Monster's Advocate as a Planeswalker, interesting. Losing, you line up the shot, and Sylvan Smite, fine. Gaining Tameo Safekeeping, I think this is a great upgrade for blue, or for green rather. Protecting Planeswalkers or big fatty dum-dum creatures from the 2-mana removal spells, etc. I think this is going to be really strong. And then gaining a Delve Spell and Become Immense. It seems a little out of place to me. I'm happy to try it out, but we'll see how it goes. Losing Primal Command. I think that's fine. A little slow. Losing Ozolith, the Shattered Spire. I think moving away from the +1/+1 counter stuff is great. It's too narrow. I think the card pool for the Arena Cube is getting broad enough that they don't have to do this kind of stuff anymore. Losing Conduit of the Worlds. Yeah, this card is terrible. Gaining Utopia Sprawl. That's pretty big game. And gaining Huntsman's Redemption. Huge. This card is phenomenal. Making waves in Eternal formats and just, a fantastic card. Let's look at the multicolor cards, shall we? Losing Kaito Dancing Shadow, which I think is largely fine. I was kind of like, I'm kind of a little bummed by this, but gaining Urtai makes a ton of sense. I think this is more in line with what Blue-Black feels like it's doing in the cube. I mean, Blue-Black is just value. We get Thief, you get Hostage Taker, Scarab God, Garuda. But, so I think Urtai makes sense. Losing Iara, not really a Rakdos card, but, so another sack outlet gone by the wayside. Gaining Decadent Dragon. I think that's, again, a better upgrade for red-black in general, and this is a powerful value card. I mean, a 3-for-1+. If you're red-black, it's great. Green-white, huge shakeup here. Losing Dromoka's Command, good, fine. Gaining Kellen, which is excellent. Gaining Sir Joshua and Sir Saxon, a card I haven't played with. Green-white 2/3 double team. Remember, when you attack with a creature with double team, you conjure a copy of it into your hand and it loses double team. If you control exactly 2 legendary permanents named Sir Joshua and Sir Saxon, the legend rule doesn't apply. So there you go. Each other creature you control named Sir Joshua and Sir Saxon has Battle Cry. So if you get them both in play, then they're both pumping each other up, attacking as 3/3s and making your whole team +2/+0. So interesting to see that there. And Woodland Acolyte coming in, I think another fantastic card from WoW. Losing it up, they're really just trying to nerf the sacrifice stuff, it looks like. They don't want that to be a part of Arena Cube at the moment. Losing Ellis Ilkor, gaining Vanishing Verse. Gaining Sorin Solemn Visitor. This is a really big upgrade for black-white. This is a very powerful planeswalker. If you have any kind of board presence, the +1/+0 and lifelink plus on this is huge. And it doesn't take a ton of time, right, to ult this. And then at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player sacks a creature as your emblem. So ++/-6. Yeah, if your opponent can defend this the turn it comes down, you're on a clock. And Unburial Right's going... Kind of wish it wasn't, but I think that's fine. Losing Fiend Artisan and Grimflayer, so going away from this Delirium graveyard stuff. So maybe I'm over hyping the graveyard life that may be existing here. Gaining Assemble the Team, look at the top third of your library for a card, put it into your hand and then shuffle. And then Mosswood Dread Knight. I think this is going to be a big player in the cube as a grindy value engine. Gaining Pelucranos Unchained. This is powerful. From Theros Beyond Death. I think this will put in some work. Losing Ishkana and Gitrog Monster. I think this is mostly okay. Like, Gitrog was not a player. Ishkana was pretty hard to enable. Boros gaining Heartflame Duelist. Jewel Mine Overseer. This is 1 red-white for a 3/3. And it conjures 7 cards named 7 dwarves, right? 7 copies of 7 dwarves on top of your library. They perpetually gain when this creature enters the battlefield, draw a card, and then you shuffle. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you can exile the top card of your library and you play that card this turn. No idea. Yeah, truly no idea. And gaining Quintorius. Big upgrade here with a powerful planeswalker. Losing Nahiri, sad to see her go. And losing Lorehold Command. Lorehold Command, maybe not great for Boros, but definitely one of the more powerful cards in the cube. Very worth splashing. With the addition of the fetch lands, I would think Lorehold Command's stock goes up, but not this time. In Simic, we're gaining Elusive Otter. One of the more confusing additions to the cube, I'll say. Yeah, Simic has no shortage of powerful things to do in the cube. Kiora, Uro, Karuga, Koma, so just Elusive Otter is weird to me. Grow Old Together, seek 2 creature cards from among the top 10 cards of your library, then shuffle creature cards in your hand, perpetually get +1/+1. Never seen this played either, these alchemy cards. And then losing Tachova, which I think is right. This was never felt like it was good enough. Gaining a bunch of multicolor or faux multicolor cards, losing, I should say. We're gaining Huatli Poet of Unity, which is really powerful. Another huge upgrade for green decks. Losing Mythos of Aluna. Don't love this going, but okay. Losing Siege Rhino, fine. Losing Zergo and Ojatai, fine. Losing a bunch of 5-color cards. We're losing Asika, Kenrith, and Kami War. And losing Gigantha. You hate to see it. Truly hate to see companions going. So the companions now are Yorion, Lurrus, Lutri, Garuda? I think that's it. Yeah, 4 of them. Okay. Gaining some cookies. Ginger Brute and Sir Ginger. Okay. Losing a lot here and colorless creatures. Losing Revoker, Palladium Mirror, Precursor Golem, Cityscape Lever, and Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger. I am actually pretty happy with all of these changes, especially Palladium Mirror I really never liked, but I think I will not miss any of these, I'll say. Big bada boom. Talked about, I don't like them putting in the +1/+1 counter stuff. Yeah, sure, but... I think Agatha's Soul Cauldron is very powerful and is, my guess, is going to be one of the better cards to pick one in the cube, but we'll see. Gaining the Iron Crag as well, a 2-mana rock. There's not a lot of these. Cold Steel Heart, Guardian Idol, Mind Stone. That's about it. 3 of them, 4 of them. Iron Crag, for my money, is going to be one of the better cards to take early when you know you're not on an aggressive deck. Losing a couple swords. No skin off my teeth there. Karn Silex coming in. I don't imagine this will be much of a player, but we'll see. Gaining Camille, the Inner Sun. Spells you control can't be countered at the beginning of your end step. Discover 5. This is a pretty dang good card for mid-range decks, and there's a lot of mid-range decks in this cube. I imagine this being powerful. Also, spells you control can't be countered. I mean... Good on you for resolving a 6-drop, but it's crazy. And losing Invasion of Ravnica. Not a big deal there. Home stretch here, gaining looks like what, all of the restless lands, all 10 of the creature lands that we had from the last 2 sets are coming in, and then we're losing in the allied colors, losing the fast lands and the cycle lands. Cycle lands had types though, it's kind of a bummer, and then losing the pain lands, modern lands, whatever, that you could sack to draw a card. But I guess, do we still have those? No, we never had the allied ones. Okay, so that's gone. And then that is it. Now we're down to the fetches. So that's the cube changelog. Like I said, it's going to be live this morning for a week. No events, right? No arena open, which is kind of a bummer, but it's still really fun. I'm a huge fan of the arena cube. I'll be jamming it a bunch this week for sure. And yeah, let me know in the comments what you think of the changes. What cards are you sad to see go? What cards are you happy to see come in? And what do you think they should be adding next? All right, see ya.